No one expected that a simple comment could cause such an explosion online. Yet when a fan wrote the words "You are disgusting" under Yaman's latest post, the entire internet seemed to stop for a moment. Within minutes, screenshots were everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And people weren't just reacting, they were taking sides. Some defended him fiercely, while others added fuel to the fire. But what made this particular moment so powerful was not just the insult itself, it was Can's silence. For a man known for his fiery temperament and strong presence, that silence spoke louder than any response could have. The photo he had posted was ordinary at first glance, a simple behind-the-scenes shot from his latest project in Rome, shirt slightly unbuttoned, that trademark intense look in his eyes. But beneath the comments praising his performance, one user dropped those 3 harsh words. It wasn't the first time Can faced criticism. Fame always brings negativity, but this one hit differently. Some fans believe the comment wasn't random at all. According to online gossip circles, it came right after rumors resurfaced about his complicated relationship with Sarah Bluma, the young Italian influencer he's been seen with over the past months. Others think it had something to do with Demet Özdemir, the actress who fans still believe left an unhealed mark on his heart. Whatever the reason, the tension around Can was already high. That single comment became the spark that set the powder keg alight. Within hours, hashtags like #CanYaman_under_attack and #RespectCanYaman started trending. Fans began dissecting every word, every emoji, every post he'd made in the last few weeks. Some users even tried to identify who the commenter was, while others begged Can not to take the negativity personally. But what stunned everyone came next. Instead of deleting the comment, Can left it there. That decision changed everything. Some saw it as strength. A silent message that he wouldn't be broken by hate. Others saw it as vulnerability, a quiet cry that fame had taken too much from him. But to his closest followers, it felt like the beginning of something deeper, a moment that revealed the man behind the celebrity image. And then, a few hours later, he finally posted something new, a black and white photo of himself looking away from the camera, with a single caption, "Even silence has its answers." That sentence, short and mysterious, reignited the internet once more. Fans began to wonder if he was addressing the comment directly, or if those words were meant for someone else entirely. Because behind every public storm, there's always a private story waiting to surface. And this time, that story was about to take a turn no one could have predicted. As the hours passed, the tension didn't fade, it grew. Fans who had defended Yaman for years suddenly found themselves in endless online battles. Others who had once adored him began questioning his recent behavior. Why did he stay silent? Why did he let that insult remain visible to millions of followers? Everyone wanted an answer, but Can gave none. His silence became the loudest voice in the conversation. Entertainment outlets in Italy and Turkey quickly picked up the story. Headlines screamed, "Fan insults Yaman, actor reacts in silence, Yaman's mysterious post sparks debate." Television talk shows replayed his Instagram photo, zoomed in on his expression, and speculated on what he might be feeling. Some claimed he looked angry. Others said he looked heartbroken. And deep down, both were right. Those who truly knew Can, the people who had followed his rise from Erkenci Kuss to international stardom, could tell that something inside him had shifted. This wasn't just about a single comment. It was about years of pressure, expectations, and whispers about his personal life. Since moving to Italy, Can had tried to build a new version of himself. One that could exist outside the constant comparisons to Demet Özdemir, outside the chaos of Turkish tabloids, outside the image of the perfect man. But fame, once unleashed, doesn't let you rest. It follows you, even in silence. That's why many fans began interpreting his black and white photo and the caption "Even silence has its answers" as a direct message, not just to the person who insulted him, but to everyone who had ever judged him without knowing the truth. "He's tired," one fan wrote under the post. "He's not angry anymore, he's exhausted." Another added, "Maybe the comment hurt because it came close to what he fears the most, that people only see the surface." The story took a new twist when a Turkish blogger claimed that the "you are disgusting" comment wasn't from a random fan at all. According to her, the account belonged to someone who had been close to Can's circle, a person connected to one of his past relationships. Whether that was true or not, it made the story explode again. Speculation turned to frenzy. Was it someone jealous? Someone trying to provoke him publicly? Or someone from his past trying to remind him of old wounds? In the middle of all this noise, Can did something that surprised everyone. He disabled comments on his next post. For a man who had always engaged with his followers, that move felt like closing a door. And with that, silence took over again, heavy, tense, and full of meaning. People started wondering, was this his way of saying he'd had enough? Or was it the calm before another storm? Because if there's one thing the world knows about Can Yaman, it's that when he finally decides to speak, he never does it halfway. Behind the curtain of fame, Can Yaman had always carried a private storm. To the world, he was the image of confidence, sculpted, charismatic, untouchable. But those who followed his journey from Istanbul to Rome knew there was something fragile underneath that strength. Every photo, every interview, every public appearance had a cost. And now, after that brutal comment, "You are disgusting," something inside him had quietly cracked. In the days that followed, journalists tried to get a reaction from him. Paparazzi waited outside his gym, hoping for a statement or even a glare. But Can simply walked past them, eyes down, headphones on. It wasn't defiance, it was distance. A kind of emotional withdrawal that spoke louder than any interview ever could. He wasn't angry anymore, he was disappointed. Not in the fan, not even in the media, but in the idea that after years of hard work, people could still reduce him to a single insult. Italian fans who had once seen him as the dream man began posting messages of support. "Stay strong, Can. Don't let hate win. We love you, always." Yet there was one comment, buried deep under thousands of messages, that captured the collective emotion perfectly. It read, "You can tell he's not fighting back because he's already fought too much." That sentence spread like wildfire. People started using it in fan edits, in tweets, in emotional TikTok videos showing moments of Can from his past, his smile with Demet on set, his eyes during interviews, his exhaustion after filming late nights in Italy. The narrative shifted. This was no longer a story about an insult. It became a story about a man who had been hurt by fame itself. Still, some journalists weren't satisfied. They began connecting dots, tracing emotional parallels between his silence now and the moments after his rumored breakup with Demet Özdemir. Back then, too, he had gone silent for weeks, vanishing from the public eye, only to return stronger, calmer, but changed. Now, history seemed to be repeating itself. Sources close to Can whispered that he had spent that week alone at his home near Rome, away from the chaos. No staff, no appearances, no PR meetings. Just him, his dog, and his thoughts. He was reportedly writing again. Something he hadn't done since the pandemic. And those who know him say that's his therapy. When the world becomes too loud, Can writes it all down. By the time he reappeared online, something about him felt different. His first post after the silence wasn't a quote, wasn't a photo shoot, it was a blurry picture of a sunset. No caption, no tag. Yet within hours, it reached millions of likes. Fans understood the message without words, "I'm still here. And I'm choosing peace." But peace, especially for someone like Can Yaman, never lasts long. Because while he was trying to rebuild himself quietly, a new rumor began to circulate, one that would drag Demet Özdemir's name back into the spotlight, and connect directly to the pain that started with that single hateful comment. The rumor began as a whisper, buried deep in fan forums, but it didn't take long to spread like wildfire. Someone claimed that the reason Can had been so affected by the comment, "You are disgusting," was because it reminded him of a message he once received years ago, not from a stranger, but from someone he once loved. And in the world of Turkish-Italian celebrity gossip, that could only mean one name, Demet Özdemir. Of course, there was no proof, only speculation. Yet for the fans who had followed their story since Erkenci Kuss, that theory made painful sense. After all, Can and Demet's relationship, whether real, rumored, or simply spiritual, had always carried a strange emotional intensity. Every smile they shared on screen felt real, every silence off screen felt loaded. And even now, years later, their names refused to separate. As media outlets reignited the Can and Demet narrative, old photos resurfaced. Clips from interviews, behind-the-scenes laughter, affectionate looks, all of it began circulating again. Fans wrote things like, "She was the only one who saw his real side," and "maybe that comment hurt because it came from a memory, not a stranger." Others believed the opposite. That bringing Demet into the story was unfair, that people were using her name to reopen old wounds. Meanwhile, Yaman said nothing. He didn't deny the connection, didn't confirm it either. But his next move spoke volumes. He posted a single photo of himself walking alone at night through the empty streets of Rome, rain falling softly, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. The caption read, "People forget that words can break what they can't see." The post went viral within minutes. Over 1 million likes. Thousands of comments. And among them, one stood out, from an account that fans quickly identified as belonging to one of Demet's closest friends. It said, "Some hearts never fully heal, no matter how far they travel." That's when everything truly exploded. Turkish tabloids ran headlines suggesting Demet had reached out privately. Italian gossip shows speculated that Can had finally realized he'd never moved on. And fans across both countries filled social media with emotional edits, quotes, and tributes to what they called the love story that never ended. But behind all the noise, those who understood Can best knew what was really happening. The comment that started it all, "You are disgusting," had been more than an insult. It was a mirror. A reminder of everything he'd endured since fame consumed his life, judgment, misunderstanding, and the pain of being adored and attacked at the same time. He wasn't angry at the person who wrote it. He was angry at the system that made such cruelty normal, the same system that took something pure, like love, and turned it into headlines. In private, according to one source close to the actor, Can began making changes. He stopped following certain gossip accounts. He limited interviews. He focused instead on his upcoming charity campaign for children's hospitals in Italy, something deeply personal to him. He said he wanted to put his energy where it matters, the source shared. He's tired of being misunderstood. A week later, Can appeared at a charity gala in Milan. He arrived alone, dressed in black, calm, composed, but there was a softness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. When asked by a journalist if the online drama had affected him, he smiled faintly and replied, "It taught me that silence can protect peace, but also hide pain." Then he walked away, leaving the press speechless. That moment became iconic, a full-circle moment in which the man once known for his fiery reactions had chosen serenity instead. Back online, fans noticed something else. Among the thousands of supportive comments under his new posts, one appeared that many believe was from Demet herself. It wasn't posted under her verified account, but the timing, the phrasing, and the tone were unmistakable. It said simply, "Some things are felt, not explained." Whether it was truly her or not didn't even matter. What mattered was what it symbolized: closure, forgiveness, and maybe, a quiet kind of love that no insult could destroy. Because when the world screamed and demanded answers, Yaman did something rare, he chose reflection. When they expected anger, he gave silence. And when they insulted him, he transformed that pain into something graceful, a message that reached millions, that fame is fleeting, but dignity lasts forever. The story that began with 3 cruel words, "You are disgusting," ended up revealing something completely different, a man learning to heal in public while protecting what's left of his private soul. And for his fans, that's why they admire him more than ever. Not because he's perfect, not because he never stumbles, but because he keeps standing, even when the whole world watches, waiting for him to fall. In the end, Can didn't need to answer the insult. His silence was the answer. It spoke of pain, growth, and the quiet resilience of someone who has been broken by fame but refuses to let it define him. The fire that started with hate ended with grace, and the world, once again, couldn't stop talking about Yaman.